They say that the people we love the most are the ones who can lie to us the best. Why? Because we give them the map to our hearts. We show them exactly where to strike to leave a scar that never heals. I'm telling this story not because I want sympathy, but because I want you to look at your life. Really look at it. I spent 21 years building a temple for a man who turned out to be a ghost. I missed every red flag because I was too busy looking at the sunset he was pointing at. If you feel like something is slightly off in your relationship, if the business trips feel a little too frequent, or the phone is tilted just a few degrees away from you, don't ignore that voice. It's your soul trying to save you. This is the story of how my 22-year anniversary party turned into the funeral of my marriage. And it all started with a simple, harmless scroll through TikTok. 21 years. Think about that number for a second. It's not just a statistic, it's 7,665 days of waking up and falling asleep next to the same person. I'm 44 now. I spent half of my life, the entirety of my youth, and every ounce of my emotional energy on a man named Julian. I thought I knew him better than I knew myself. I knew the exact rhythm of his breathing when he was entering deep sleep. I knew that he hated the crust on his toast but loved it on his pizza. I knew the specific low vibration in his voice when he was about to tell a joke. Julian wasn't just my husband, he was my atmosphere. He was the air I breathed. 10 years ago, we went through the kind of fire that melts most people. We lost our oldest son, Leo. He was only 8. That kind of tragedy creates a fork in the road for a marriage. You either drift apart in your grief or you fuse together into something unbreakable. We fused. Or at least that's the story I told myself for a decade. Julian was my rock. He held me through the night terrors. He was the hero who stayed strong for our 2 daughters while I was a ghost of a woman. Our life was enviable. That's the only word for it. We weren't that couple that sat in silence at restaurants. We talked. We laughed. Even after 20 years, the spark was an inferno. We were intimate 4, sometimes 6 times a week. He would look at me with such intensity that I felt like the only woman on the planet. "You're my beginning and my end, Sarah," he'd whisper. He traveled often for business, consulting for high-end firms. He'd be gone for 3 days, 4 days at a time. I missed him every second, but the reunions were always spectacular. He'd come home with silk scarves, expensive perfumes, and stories of boring boardrooms and lonely hotel dinners. Next week is our 22nd anniversary. It's Julian's turn to plan the event. Every year we alternate, and this year he was obsessed. He'd been taking secret calls, smiling at his phone, telling me to buy the most expensive black dress I could find. "I'm throwing a gala for you, Sarah. The whole town needs to know how much I love you." I believed him. I felt like a queen. I had no idea the crown was made of glass and it was about to shatter. It started so simply. A Tuesday afternoon. The girls were at soccer practice. The house was quiet, and I was in the kitchen waiting for the pasta water to boil. I opened TikTok, just looking for a way to kill 10 minutes. I was scrolling through the For You page, cat videos, organizational hacks, and then a cooking video. The account was called Cooking with Anna. She had about 50,000 followers. The video was titled POV Hubby's Home from his business trip and I'm making his favorite short ribs. I watched it idly. She was a pretty woman, maybe mid-30s, glowing with happiness. But then the camera panned. Sitting at a rustic wooden table, seen from behind, was a man. My heart didn't just skip. It felt like a cold hand had reached into my chest and squeezed. I recognized that back. The specific slope of the shoulders, the way his hair grew in a small swirl at the nape of his neck, the way he leaned slightly to the left when he was relaxed. No, I whispered to the empty kitchen. Sarah, you're being paranoid. It's just a back. But the intuition of a wife is a terrifying thing. It's a biological alarm system. I clicked on her profile. I entered the lion's den. I spent the next 4 hours descending into a digital nightmare. I scrolled back months, then years. This woman, Anna, was documenting a life that looked suspiciously like mine, but in a different house 2 hours away. There were videos of Julian, always from behind or from a distance, playing soccer with three little boys. Three boys who looked remarkably like my Julian. There were date night videos where he wore the exact same navy blazer I had bought him for his 40th birthday. I began to cross-reference the dates. It was like solving a puzzle where every piece was a dagger. June 14th, Julian is in Chicago for a tech conference. Anna's TikTok. Hubby surprised the boys with a backyard camping trip. November 2nd, Julian is in London for a week. Anna's TikTok. So grateful for a husband who works hard but always makes it home for the school play. I felt the bile rising in my throat. But the final proof, the proof that destroyed my soul, was the Neanderthal. Julian has this strange quirk. He's a sophisticated man, but he holds his silverware like a caveman. He grips his fork and knife with his whole fist, a primitive, awkward Neanderthal grip. I used to tease him about it. I thought it was endearing. In one of Anna's videos, as she films him eating, the camera zooms in on his hands. His hands. The wedding band was missing, but the grip was unmistakable. He was cutting a steak with that same awkward, primitive motion. And then I saw the comment. A follower asked, "When is the wedding?" Anna replied, "We've been spiritually married for 3 years, but we're finally making it official next month." He says he's just finishing up some old business first. Julian came home 2 days later. He walked through the door, kissed me deeply, and handed me a box from a luxury boutique. "I missed you so much, Sarah," he said, looking me straight in the eyes with that same intense love I had trusted for 2 decades. I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't see my husband. I saw a monster. A high-functioning sociopath who could maintain 2 families, 2 lives, and 2 sets of children without breaking a sweat. I thought about the sex, the 4 to 6 times a week. It wasn't passion, it was a performance. It was his way of making sure I never suspected a thing. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I simply smiled. "I missed you too, Julian. How was the trip?" "Exhausting, babe. Just meetings and hotel rooms. I can't wait for our anniversary party. It's going to be the talk of the town." I spent the next week being the perfect wife. I helped him finalize the guest list. Over 100 people. Business partners, our parents, our daughter's friends, all while I was secretly working with a private investigator and a digital forensic expert. I didn't just want a divorce. I wanted an execution. The anniversary, the night of the gala arrived. The ballroom was draped in white lilies. My favorite? Julian looked stunning in his tuxedo. Our daughters looked like princesses. He took the stage, the light hitting him like he was a saint. "Sarah," he said into the microphone, his voice thick with fake emotion. 22 years ago, I made a vow, and every day since I have lived only for you. This slideshow is a tribute to our journey. The lights went out. The first few photos were ours, our wedding, the birth of our girls. The room was filled with awes and sighs. Then the music shifted. The romantic piano died and a upbeat, familiar TikTok melody started playing. The screen flickered. Instead of us, the screen showed Anna's TikTok, cooking for hubby. The room went deathly silent. Julian froze. The screen showed his back at her table. Then the zoom in on the Neanderthal grip. Then a video of him at the soccer field with the three boys. Then the ultimate blow, a screen recording of Anna's TikTok where she showed a positive pregnancy test and wrote, "Julian and I are so excited. If it's a boy, we're naming him Leo after Julian's late brother. He used our dead son's name. He told her Leo was his brother so he could reuse the name for his new life." I stood up in my black dress. I walked to the stage. Julian's face was the color of a funeral shroud. He couldn't speak. He couldn't breathe. I took the microphone from his limp hand. "Julian is right," I said, my voice echoing through the hallowed silence. "It is a celebration of loyalty, or rather, the lack of it. Julian, I hope Anna and your three sons are worth the half of everything you're about to lose. Happy anniversary." I walked out. My daughters followed me, their faces masks of pure, justified rage. Julian lost his job, his reputation, and both of his families that night. It turns out Anna had no idea I existed. When she saw the video of the gala, which went viral within hours, she packed his bags and changed the locks. I am no longer the perfect wife of a perfect man. I am a woman who survived a 21-year haunting. And as I sit in my quiet kitchen today, I realize I'm finally breathing real air. As I sit here today, 2 months after that night, people ask me, "How did you not know?" Looking back, the red flags were there. They weren't giant neon signs, they were tiny whispers. It was the way he always had a second phone charger in his car that I wasn't allowed to use. It was the way he'd suddenly become too tired to talk after a trip, but would stay up late staring at his screen. It was the gift giving. He used money to silence my intuition. If the gift is too big for the occasion, sometimes it's a bribe for your silence. My advice to you, trust, but verify the data. Don't be afraid to be the crazy wife if your gut is telling you that the man sleeping next to you is a stranger. I lost my marriage, but I found my sanity. Julian didn't just lose a wife. He lost the only person who truly knew him, or at least the person he pretended to be. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever dealt with a double life or a betrayal like this, please share your experience in the comments. We need to know we aren't alone. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and never let someone else's lie become your reality.